gender. It's an often used word these days. Not sure it means anything other than like le chat or la chat or whatever it is in French. But if we can't wrap our heads around this fancy language, why should we inflict it on our kids? Why am I going down this road? Who knows? Well, teachers at a church primary school have been accused of telling children they can be born in the wrong body and that some 3-year-olds are gender non-binary. Kevin and Nicola Watts temporarily withdrew their 3 children from St Michael's Church of England School in Tenterton, Kent, in a row over what they have called trans indoctrination. According to the parents, teachers showed the video to the children despite the Wattses having said in writing that owing to their Christian beliefs, bad, they did not approve of lessons that normalised LGBTQ. They've missed the Q off the auto cue. Relationships. The Wattses said that they felt very disrespected and betrayed as we had asked that the start of the year for our children not to be exposed to any of this ideology. Meanwhile, Minister for Children, Families and Wellbeing, Claire Coutinho, says universities face a growing creep of self-censorship, just hours after students were forced the cancellation of a documentary screening on women's rights. Joining me to discuss all of this is journalist and broadcaster Sam Dowler. Sam.
Hi.
Hi. What do we think about the Wattses not wanting their kids to be involved in the LGBTQ++ thing?
Well, I feel for the kids, first of all, their kids specifically.
Why?
Because obviously there's a religious bent to this, a massive one, and they're saying because of their Christian beliefs they don't want any kind of normalisation of LGBT life. I mean, what if any of their children are gay, or what if they are, have gender dysphoria, as we say, they will grow up in that household feeling that they are, different, othered, unwanted, and that obviously would be painful for them. So in this scenario, I mean, it isn't really correct in today's life that they would carry on with this doctrine that they have, bastardised the Bible in order to get there. When in fact, obviously, Jesus was about love, etc.
Love one another, love their neighbour.
Exactly, and then here we are. They won't even allow their children to learn that gay people, like myself, are actually normal.
Well, maybe there's something different about that, which is I think the human rights movement has moved very strongly and powerfully towards the acceptance and understanding of lesbian and gay people.
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's as much bigotry as there was back in the day. I think the trans one is slightly different because when we're talking about children, we're not talking about them just expressing themselves and being gay or lesbian. We're talking about what will involve quite substantial medical procedures. And kids, as I said in my monologue, they believe in Santa and stuff like that. So they don't really have the mental capacity and acuity to go, I'm going to make irreversible changes to my body. Parents, religious or not, have a right to object to that.
But they're not talking about irreversible treatments or anything like that. They're just simply saying that these people exist, and I don't see how it is difficult for children get taught about fascism and they don't become Nazis because they learn about it. It's not like and there's no agenda to try and create some sort of trans army. They're simply saying these people exist. You might feel like this, and if you do, it's okay. What's wrong with that?
Well, I happen to agree with you. My concern is that it's such a tiny minority of people that to have, and I've looked through my own schools, RSC and PSHE lesson plans. My concern is that the exception doesn't make the rule in terms of teaching. Of course, you should have a lesson. You say some people will, some of you guys in this class will end up gay and lesbian, and in very tiny percentages you may end up trans.
Fine.
But that's end of lesson for me.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be such a big part of the personal, social, health, economic curriculum?
Well, I don't think it is a massive part of it, and also
it's big enough.
Well, but what you're saying is very tiny amount of people that go through gender dysphoria or are trans or non-binary, etc. So this is. It's almost a moot point because these people do exist, and informing children that they do exist and it'd be okay if they were as well isn't ever going to be a bad thing. It's not going to convince them that they want to do it, and also the rhetoric surrounding gender dysphoria and also trans people is so negative and toxic at the moment that it pushes kids the other way. All kids always want to rebel, and therefore obviously there's loads of figures about how there's loads more people being referred to the Tavistock Clinic when that was around, etc. Because it's different, and if everyone's going, no, you can't do it, then of course people are going to be like, well, that's how I feel non-binary, etc. So just simply informing children who aren't born with any kind of hatred or.
But isn't childhood hard enough? Right, with all the myriad of choices, you take a child into a sweet shop, as I do with my nephews and nieces in Cornwall. You go, you can get some sweets, and they're just like, I want everything.
Yeah.
So if you give them this option between that, there is not a binary. We don't say like should we be teaching kids to go, look, the vast portion of you are going to end up straight. Then there's going to be a percentage of you between 10 and 20.
Yeah.
I don't know. Percentage of you will be homosexual, and then a really small. And we love you all.
Of course. That's great.
That's the thing. I don't think there's any anti-trans bigotry. I think what it is let's not be promoting children who may be gay or lesbian. And, the stats are that, 80% of the time these kids do grow up to become either gay or lesbian.
Yeah.
To go into such extreme medical procedures. I think that's what a parent is justifiably worried about, right?
This is what my point is, that they're not saying anything. There's adults present. They're not saying anything about taking drugs or having to have irreversible surgery. No one's talking about that. They're simply putting people in the right. I wish I'd had those lessons at school. I might have felt less like a freak for years and years.
Me too.
Yeah.
I wish I'd had them.
Yeah, exactly. So it can only benefit people and like
screaming in my ear.
Oh,
Sam, so lovely to see you.